still staying with the loops, we're going to just look at some a bit more advanced features that we can do with loops, and we can use both of these in either a conditional loop, which we will do something that happens 0 to many times, okay, or 1 to many times if you're doing a do-while loop, or a fixed loop, okay, that we know exactly how many times that's going to happen. So there are two other commands to look at, and this is the break and the continue. Okay, so we'll look at these in the context of a while loop. Let's say a while loop. So break, as it might suggest, now that actually allows us to jump out of a loop. So let's do something that you probably wouldn't expect. Let's just say while true. Okay, this might just seem a bit of a shortcut, but why not? So instead of actually having an actual condition like checking to see if a value is greater than another value or equal to something, we just say while true. Now, if we ran that, this would be an infinite loop, okay, because true is always going to be true, and there's no way that loop's going to end, okay, until we somehow broke the program or reset, stop the process or whatever. But there is a way we can actually get out of this, because we can use the break command. So if we were to say break in here, just simply like that, while true, that would be true, we'd get to the break command, and it'd actually just break the loop, and it would jump us straight out the loop to continue with whatever code we have down here. That on its own, probably not overly useful. So the break command, we wouldn't just put it in like that. We'd probably use it as part of a conditional statement or an if statement, for instance, rather than just plain sticking it in there, okay, for no real actual practical purpose whatsoever. So instead of just putting like that, let's say if I don't know, we'll do a bit of pseudocode here. So ask user to quit. Okay, so if we ask the user whether they want to quit the program or not, okay, then we say if the user says yes, they want to quit, we break. Otherwise, we just continue through the loop, which might just be something like display a menu. I'll call the menu function, which is going to display the menu. So this loop will keep going round until the user says they want to quit. That will trigger the break command, and then the loop will jump out. The break will send us down here out of the loop, so we're not stuck in this infinite loop anymore. So that's the break function. So then we've got the while, the continue. Now the continue is a bit different to the break. So for instance, if we have a bit of code like this, if we were to say continue basically just sends us back to the top of the loop, and we start doing the loop again. Now we probably just need a little bit more room just to demonstrate this a bit better. So let's just get rid of that, and so we'll just stop our loop down here. So again, continue on its own like this, probably not going to be much use. There's no point in doing that. Any statement we put down here, okay, just to begin a bit of pseudocode, let's just say we want to display the time. So anything down here would never actually get run, because the loop would come down, it would get to the continue, and it would go up here, and it would never ever get out of it. Never get out of it, because it's still actually an infinite loop with that true in, because we're taking the break out. But down here or up here, we might have a if check to see whether the user wants to skip. Just skip a process, for instance. If the user says yes, they want to skip a process, then we call continue. I'm just going to move that just to make it a bit more obvious that it's part of the if statement. So if the user says yes, they want to skip a statement, continue would be triggered, and then we would go back up here and do the loop again. If the user doesn't want to skip the process, this code would carry on being run, so we would display the time, and then the loop would just loop from the bottom here back up to the top. Oops. Let's do it a bit neater, back up to the top. So the continue just allows us to quit processing some of the loop and take us back to the top, so that we can actually just continue with the statements at the top of the loop. Obviously, don't forget we would have to have some sort of a quit here. Okay, otherwise we're going to be stuck in this loop forever. So that's the use of break, which allows us to quit out of a loop sooner than probably what we would have expected. You can use this in a for loop just as much as you can use it in a while loop. So even though we say a fixed loop is a fixed number of times, we can actually cheat a little bit and use break and continue to modify the processing of the loop in there. And continue tells us to stop processing the code within the loop and return to the top of the loop for another go round the loop.